Okay, I am finally here, and I just had to talk about this because I was like, "What? For real though?" I was like, "What? I can't even believe this shit." Hi, Lieutenant Lacey, how you doing? Yes, he called Tommy a beta male. I was like, "What?" Oh my god! Oh my god! How you doing, my brother? You doing okay? Uh, I just had to speak on this really quickly before I start, getting in my kitchen. I think I'm gonna make pizzas tonight, so I have to make the pizza dough. But anyway, I was looking at a few videos and I was like, oh shit, I've been gone a week. I haven't really been on YouTube or anything for a week. And when I come back, I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And, I am not against Tommy. I kind of understand Tommy Sotomayor to a degree. So I'm not one of those sisters who out to bash him for making his living. You know what I mean? I'm not against anyone who's making their living, whatever they do to make their living, as long as you put it in context that way, you figure, okay, this is a man, he's found his niche in the world, and he's not out bashing people across the head, stealing from people, robbing from people in that context. And it is what it is. Okay? It is what it is. But anyway, but that Peterson guy, that dude right there is a straight up coon. I can't even watch him for a long period of time because he is one of those people who are outright liars, right? He'll lie about our history. He lies about black people. He will make up some shit that just don't make sense to nobody but himself. And I realized this a while back, right? I've even had little arguments with him. And in fact, we was having a conversation where he was trying to get me to call into the show. I'm not calling into his show because he's one of those dudes who will mute you. Like going on his show it helps no one. You can't convince him of nothing. You can't prove him wrong because as soon as you're on the right track of actually proving him wrong with facts, he will mute you or just bounce you out. That's the type of coon that dude is. And listen, I don't call people coons easily. Just because you may agree with some people who are, another minority, another group of people, that doesn't make you a coon. Your life may dictate some of the things that you believe. But that dude, that dude actually had the nerve to say that in the South, when he worked on plantations, right? This dude is living in imaginary world. If you listen to him, he actually says that when he was a kid, when he was young, he worked on plantations. That's what came out of that motherfucking man's mouth. Now that man is nowhere near my parents' age. He might be more around my age, right? He might be somewhere in his 50s. Now I'm not in my 50s yet, but I'm close. And I am going to tell you that nobody who is in their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s worked on no goddamn plantation as no motherfucking slave. But that's what came out of his mouth. He is having a conversation with Tommy Sotomayor where he is saying that black people wasn't against white people back then and they didn't dislike white people back then. And to a degree, nah, the shit that he was talking just didn't make sense. Even Tommy told him, what are you talking about? Back then, black people were afraid of white people because white people were able to come up and lynch you. And they wouldn't go to jail for it. No charges will be brought for it. They will come probably with the police officers and with the goddamn judges who was mocked up in these sheets and shit, right? And they would come in these sheets and drag and murder black people. And this fool gonna talk about, well, there was no contention against whites and black in the South. Then he started proclaiming, well, Maybe it was like that in the big cities, but it wasn't like that in our small areas. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, who are you trying to fool? I am from an area where even around the large cities are little towns. He make it seem like these large cities are somewhere way far away from the little towns. The large cities have nothing but smaller towns and smaller cities surrounding. Okay, but he will make it seem like if you lived in the city in the South, it was so different from living out of the city in the South. And depending on what you're speaking about, that might be true, right? As far as the culture, but when it comes to race relations in the South, it was all the same. Jim Crow was the same. They had an agenda and they lived through that agenda. My grandmother, great grandmother, and even my great great grandmother, who was still living when I was a little girl, they were afraid of white people. They were afraid of white people. How you doing, Shrink? I'm doing okay. I'm sorry, my email was full. It might be still full. I'm trying to get through the email. I have so much on my plate, and I'm just trying to just live, survive, day by day. But thank you for asking. I couldn't believe the things that comes out of Jesse Lee Peterson's mouth just contradicts in himself. And I don't think he's doing it purposely. Like I really think the dude is a little slow. You know what I mean? He's not one. I don't think he's out here trying to purposely just lie to people. I just think he's uneducated and slow. I think he's on that spectrum, of that where you might get a disability check. And I'm serious with that. I'm not kidding, and I'm not trying to put him down. I just really, if you listen to him, listen to the way he speak, listen to the things that he say, and then he'll base it all on Christianity. The first thing he want to know if you're a Christian, whether you're a Christian or not, has nothing little to do with the facts, certain facts, So first thing he wants to know is if you're a Christian, and he can't even define what a Christian is. He won't define it. He won't define what a Christian is. That's why when Tommy and Lunel, I think that's how you pronounce her name, Lunel, the first thing they wanted to know, well, what do you define as a Christian? Because, we have a lot of people who believe in God, and they believe in a lot of the things that are placed in the Bible, and they believe in those things, but they may not, they may not feel like they fit another person's definition of what a Christian is. And that's why I understand why they wanted him to define it, you know. Oh yeah, you need to look at it. I think it was not so much of a debate as I enjoyed it. Like I watched Tommy and Lunel, they agreed on most things. Lunel she was being honest in how she feel about the black communities, and then Tommy, he was basically saying a lot of things that he says, but you know what I find that Tommy is like a shock jock, in that he knows what works on his show. So we all know that he targets black women, right? When on his show he talks about black women, and a lot of things that he's saying is true for some black women. So we can't even dispute that because he shows us proof with videos. But when he goes to other people's shows and they ask him questions, he's answering them honestly. And I think Jesse didn't like the fact that Tommy and Lunel wasn't fighting each other. I, he didn't like that at all. He admitted that he thought that Tommy would actually attack Lunel, which brings me to this cooning as a statement. In fact, he actually got two people to come together in hopes that they would actually be fighting each other. That is a coon if I've ever seen a coon. You know, it was a setup, and he was angry that his setup didn't work or didn't go the way that he wanted it to work. Now, see, not all black women and black men are against each other. In fact, if we sit down and have a conversation, we probably have more in common than we have that's not in common. If we have honest conversations, listen to each other, we will find that we actually agree a lot of the time. You know, right now we have this movement with these black men who all they want to talk about, the only thing they can fuss about and argue about is a black woman weave, a black woman in her weave, a black woman in her weave. Like, when the fuck are you gonna shut up about a black woman in her hair? Like, do you want, like, what's the purpose of even talking about a black woman's hair, the way she dressed, or anything like that? You know, now if you're talking about a woman not taking care of her hair and she's not taking care of herself, her body, then okay, talk about that. But this bullshit about all you want to talk about is a black woman in her weave. It makes no goddamn sense. If you don't want to date a black woman who wear weave or wig or whatever, then don't. Because there are a lot of black women out there who do not wear wigs, weaves, and that type of shit. Those black women will tell you that the black men aren't checking for them, though. Right? They have a little complaint about black men wanting the woman with the weave down her ass and the fake eyelashes and the fake this and the fake that. They will say that the men are looking for the woman with the padded butt and the fakeness. And yet they are on the internet complaining about those same women who they are after, which is ridiculous. But anyway, and we have women doing the same type of bullshit. They claiming they want a real man. They want a man to do this and they want a man to do that. And then when they stumble across a man who's like that, they start telling him he's a nerd. Oh, he too nerdy. He's not boss enough. He's not, he's not this enough or not that. So we have that problem going on both sides, both males and females. But anyway, and it doesn't even matter what color. It just so happens though that we as black people, we will out each other in a heartbeat. White people have the same issues amongst their own race. They just don't get on and bash each other. They don't bash each other as a large group. Like if Tiffany has a problem with her white boyfriend, you know what I'm saying? Her white baby daddy. She's white, Tiffany's white, and her baby daddy's white. If she have a problem with her baby daddy, she's not out there beating up on all white men. She's gonna beat up on her baby daddy. She gonna tell you how Larry is a fucking fool. Larry ain't about shit. Larry is a deadbeat father. You know what I mean? That's what she'll do. She'll get online and talk about Larry, but she's not gonna get on there and talk about white men this and white men not doing that and white men not. And that's what we do as a community in the black community. We, instead of beating up on your baby daddy, you decide you're gonna beat up on all the black men. It's ridiculous. But anyway, I just wanted to talk about that Jesse, the Coont Peterson guy. I couldn't believe I couldn't believe it. Like looking at Tommy, even sit on side of Jesse Lee Peterson. I mean, there's no, you can obviously see who's the beta. if we was discussing these two men, Tommy on side of Jesse Lee Peterson. There's no competition. Oh my God. Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know why we do that, Shrek. I think it is taught to us that way, and I think it's a way for us to get in good graces with white people, and it hurts us. I remember at some point where, in order for me to prove that I'm not like all black people, I would say things the way I'm not like that. I'm not like this. And it's almost like we got to prove that we aren't what white people think black people are. And in order for us to do that, sometimes it seems like we're beating up on other black people, you know. So I used to say, well, look, I'm not like that. I'm not like that. But now I say something different. I used to say I'm not like, that. And now what I say is that all black people aren't the same. When I used to say I'm not like that, it was almost like I'm saying, well, I'm better than them, or maybe, I don't know. I don't know. It's real confusing. Of course, I wasn't beating up on anyone. I just let them look. I'm not like that. I should have been saying, though. I think I should have been saying is we all aren't the same. We all aren't like that. Hi, Romero. How you doing? Thank you, Romero. Yeah, I haven't seen y'all in a minute. Samuel, how you doing? Um, when I go over, I used to be a part of Jesse Lee Peterson's area, right? Because I didn't, when I came across him, I forgot he was having a conversation with someone. I think it was the Advice Show guy, right? Not sure what his name is. Um, but I was new to YouTube and these communities, and I wanted to see what brother had to say. So I go over there and I'm thinking, okay, he's an older black man. He should have something to say. So I go over there and I realize this dude is like someone who probably would have been in my family, right? He's like that old ignorant black person who had no education, and everything that he hears he absorbs, and if it comes from a white person then he believe it to be factual, and instead of him doing his own researching things, if it comes out of a white person's mouth he just believes it. And then so he started his show and he repeats what white people say, what racist white people say. Let me just say that. Not all white people. I don't believe all white people are a certain way. In fact, I know they aren't, right? My family is multicultural. I'm not sure if you all watched my father's funeral, because I did have his funeral on Facebook Live. And if you saw my family, you would have saw that we come in all complexions. Okay. We are all over the goddamn ranges in skin color and tones and shit like that. So I don't believe that, but I do know a racist person when I see them, even if they come in the color of black. We have black racist people, and when I say racist, I'm talking about they're racist against black people. And they can't even be racist because they don't even have the power even to hurt their own. But it happens. That's what we call now colorism, right? We call it colorism when black people decide not to hire other black people based on their skin tone. Let's see what Jesse Lee has lost his mind in his old age. Was he better when he was younger? Was he better? uh, he was logical. See, because I don't know him. Yeah, something wrong with. Did y'all hear him? He told Tommy that when he was younger, and he wasn't talking about as a kid neither. He said when he was younger and worked on the plantation. Soon as that motherfucker said he was younger and worked on the plantation, I started to search to find out how old this man is and what plantation. Because to my understanding, here in the United States, the place that had the oldest running plantations are in Louisiana. And I know he don't live in Louisiana, right? There were plantations that were still running in Louisiana, but it still wasn't in my time. It wasn't in my father's mother's time. It wasn't even in my grandmother's time. I have grandmothers, if they were still alive today, they would be 130 something years old. Like when they passed away, there was one of my grandmothers, when she passed away, she was 106 years old. She passed away maybe about 15 years ago. No, actually longer than that. I didn't even have my kids. My grandmother been passed away. My father's mother passed away before I even had my children. My oldest is 24. Okay, so like I said, she would be 130 something years if she was still living. I know that there were plantations after slavery, but there were no plantations where he worked on uh, in the last 100 years. So yes, there were plantations after slavery, during Jim Crow, even during after slavery. Uh, they ended up giving black people. They was working on plantations for. They were claiming that they owned a part of the business, right? This dude is not 100 years old. This dude was not working. He's 70. Is he 70? I need to check that out. My father was 70 years old. My father, who just passed away, he would have been 71 next month. What this month is? Yeah, he would have been 71 next month. Okay. Yeah, sharecropper. There you go. So let's see when sharecropping stopped. Cause y'all crazy, okay? My father was not no goddamn sharecropper. My grandmother told me that her mother and her grandmother were sharecroppers. Okay, this man is not old enough to be my grandmother, and he's talking about he worked on plantations. And where I think he says he's from Alabama or Mississippi, I'm not sure. Let's see, sharecropping in it. What year? Let me look this shit up. Okay, so let me see. Sharecropping, I guess what they mean, which is like your tenant farming, right? You don't own the property, but you help uh you help the farm, right? You help the farm because and you get a share of the profits. So we know that was still happening. Now, unless he talked, but this man was talking as if he was a grown ass man doing this. Okay, he was speaking. So even if he's 70, let's say he's 70, that means he was born in the 40s. Okay. Now this is what it says, and this is only for cotton. Okay, they said that the dominant form in the of cotton in the South, sharecropping went on from the 1870s to 1950s. Okay. Um, the way he was speaking as if he was an adult and he was sharecropping. So if he was an adult in the 50s, my father wasn't an adult in the 50s. Okay, my father didn't become an adult until the 60s. In fact, my dad was 21 years old when I was born, and I was born in 69. Okay. So this man is on that. I don't know, unless he's talking about when he was a little boy and he was out there sharecropping. I'm gonna just have to be honest with you. This man is a liar. Okay, he's lying. He's telling you other people's stories and making it seem like it's a part of his story. And that's why his shit is not correct. That's why his stories are all over the place, because he's lying. Thank you, Romero. I don't know what plantation he's talking about. I have no idea. Sharecropping still happens today. Okay. What they growing, Samuel, in Alabama today, where they're sharecropping, because the farmers aren't even making the money anymore. Farmers are on welfare. And so for you to say that sharecropping, I mean, are you talking about where, like right now, I could rent out some space on somebody's farm, which I can do. Right here in Delaware they do it. There's farmers who are barely paying the rent, paying their taxes on their property, and they rent out little areas. So if I wanted to go and grow some tomatoes, or if I wanted to become a farmer but without property, I would go and rent out a area. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what he's talking about. Okay? Your grandmother would be 118 years. Yes. And she was sharecropper. That's right. So and I don't doubt it, Romero. You know what I'm talking about? Because she would be 118. This dude, somebody say he's 70 years old. He's like a couple of decades behind. He's talking about uh, oh, you talking about in other places. Oh, okay. I see what you're saying, Samuel. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Anyway, yeah, so he said and the way he says it, he was like, I worked on plantations with, and we didn't dislike, or or we weren't scared of white people, and we didn't dislike white people. And I'm thinking, what South did you live in? You know what I mean? Like, what South did you live in? Did you have your parents in the household? Because listen, I had like I said, I'm from a family of families, right? I think I haven't come across one of my cousins yet who isn't married. Not one of my cousins, like my brother. Like we don't have. I'm not saying that it's a good thing or bad thing. I'm just saying that in my family, my grandmother told me stories. My great grandmother told me stories. I even at one point had a great grandmother and two great grandmothers who were living, and they would tell their stories. You know what I mean? And for the most majority of the stories, they were afraid of white people. You was afraid of white people because at any time they could come and murder you, and that was the facts. So for this dude to say he wasn't, oh no, people in his town and people in his time, they weren't afraid of white people, and that they did the most work back then than people do today. And we all was like, yeah, back then black people did more work because black people were slaves. Like he was talking back in the slavery times. He actually admits that black people were better and we worked harder when we was fucking slaves. I swear to God, that's what he said. Even Tommy had to say, wait a minute, what you're saying is right, but why what you're saying doesn't make sense, right? Yes, black people worked harder and produced more shit when they were slaves, because that's all they were was slaves. We worked from sun up to sundown as required by the slave master. This fool made it seem like we were the best type of people when we were slaves. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, that old man is just being the typical black American. Black folks be George Lucas by pulling bits and pieces from here and there and building their own movie of life. I agree with you, Jack Spade. How you doing anyway? It's nice seeing you again. I agree. He's like, if you're gonna be honest, if you want to prove that black people are so bad, if you want to prove that we ain't shit, because basically that's all he says, right? That because we don't have the fathers in the household, which are some of the, I can't even agree with shit that comes out of his mouth because the way he puts it. But yes, we all know the households have come apart for whatever reason, right? And but to blame it on the black people because I don't know what the hell he was. He's all over the place with the shit that he says. Everyone worked harder because mostly everything was met. I agree with you, Romero. Everybody worked harder. Times were even better then. You know what I mean? We didn't have the technology that we have today. People worked less. You worked less. And even when you worked, you were happy to work. Today, you can have a whole job and still not be able to survive. How is that possible, everybody? How is it possible that you can have a full-time job working 40 hours plus a week and still not be able to afford a housing and some food? I was thinking about that today. I was thinking, well, damn, there's people who actually work and still are homeless. People who actually work, they're not on drugs, they don't have these vices. You know, a lot of people assume that if you're homeless, you're on drugs or this or that. You could actually be homeless with a full-time job. And it's really crazy today. I found out that you can have in a low income community, the water that they charge us for costs more per gallon than in a wealthy community. How is it that the wealthy people pay less than and they come in low income communities and charge you more just to survive? People are working 40 plus hours a week just to be able to have a roof over their head, electric in the homes, and water. I be wondering how some people, I ain't even gonna lie, I'm wondering how people who are on welfare can afford those expensive shoes and you know what I'm saying? And the different things that they have. I wonder that also sometimes. Because I'm wondering, you know, in my household, I guess you would consider us middle class. I'm not, you know, middle class, that's where the shit is really hard. Because you don't get no breaks. You know what I'm saying? And you can't get no assistance because you make too much to get any assistance. You make just a tad bit too much to get any assistance with anything. And it's just difficult. Working a $5 job, trying to roll like they make seven. Ah, Jackie crazy. I know, you know, and society today is all messed up. I think we all can agree to that. You know, getting on Instagram and pimping out some clothes you know you couldn't afford just to take pictures with it. Going to restaurants you know you can't even afford just to be able to say you was in that restaurant. Why are we as black people doing that shit? I watch somebody, like I know this person is homeless. Like I know this, right? I know that they from pillar to post. They move wherever somebody would let them come and lay on their floor, they laying on their floor. You wouldn't know it by looking at their Instagram and their Facebook. As soon as they get a chance, they sitting in somebody's vehicle, right? Doing their videos. You never see them really in no place doing no videos unless they're in a hotel. And they're doing these videos like they pimping and shit. And I'm thinking to myself, what the fuck? Folks trying to roll down the strip in a Yukon when they really need to be rolling in a Yugo. I know that's right, Jack. Oh my God, you anyway. You say on public assistance with an iPhone 8 and 10. Romero. Now, see the iPhone thing though, that's a little different because you know they make you upgrade. I ain't even gonna lie, Romero. You know, some things we got to look past, right? Like the phone thing. I have a iPhone 10, of course. I got it when it first came out, but I also had, you know, I had all the iPhones, but I kept one of my iPhone 6. That shit just died on me. Just like I don't even know why the shit would die on me. I never used that goddamn phone. Nobody knows the phone number. I don't even remember the phone number to that phone. I had to look in this phone to get the phone number to that phone, right? And how did the phone die? The fucking phone just died. You know why? Because they do that. They set it up where if shits die for you to upgrade. But that's a whole nother thing. You have a flip phone? My dad had a flip phone. My dad had a flip phone. You know, the older men, who not really into technology, they don't give a shit. That phone still work. They don't have to worry about no viruses, no nothing. They use the phone for what it's for. He didn't even have a camera on that phone. He couldn't even take pictures with that phone. I was shocked he was able to still have that phone on that account. But my father-in-law was like that also before he passed away. His phone was a flip phone. You need a What you need an Apple product hookup? Shit. I can tell you, look, you ain't Apple don't give you no hookups unless you have their products. Like if you need something fixed, you take it to the store, they'll fix it for free. People don't know that though. So you said they in a Yukon, they need to be in a Yugo. I listen to people too talk about they want this type of car. I have people in my family, they want that type of car, that type of car. They want that BMW. Even one of my sons, right? When he was in high school, he was talking about how he wanted a BMW. He saw this BMW was 20 years old. I swear to God. I was like, boy, I was like, let's go get you a new car. He didn't want a new car. He wanted the BMW. I was like, why do you want the old ass BMW? I'm like, just to repair that car gonna cost you a lot. Like anything go wrong with that fucking car, it's gonna cost you an arm and a leg. I'm like, we're going and get a motherfucking car, a new car. I had to talk him into getting a new car versus that old BMW. I don't even understand why. What, like what so hot about a BMW that you okay with getting a 20-year-old car? It makes no sense. But black people, that's what we do. Now see, if he wanted the old BMW because it was cheaper, them motherfucking people wanted $5,000 for that 20-year-old car. I look at them motherfuckers like they were crazy. And I told my son, if he have an accident in that car, those people not gonna give him not a damn thing. The blue book value for the car, it wasn't even in the books. I'm like, so you're gonna pay money for the insurance, and if something happened, you're not gonna get no money, no car, you're not gonna get shit because the car is too old. You know what I mean? And I had to explain that to him. And we have to explain that to our people. We have young black men who will go and buy a car, an older car. They put TVs in them, sound systems in it, right? And shit like that, rims on it. And it looks nice, I guess. You know, it's to their liking. But I explain to them, look, when you have an accident in that car, you only gonna get the blue book value. You could go to the judge and anybody you want and talk about how the rims is worth $2,000. The judge gonna say, well, go get those rims off that car that you destroyed. Cause you ain't gonna get shit from us for no $2,000 rims. You dumb if you paying $2,000 on some rims. You dumb as fuck. You dumb as fuck if you putting a $1,500 system in your car. You ain't living in the car. The car not like why? Be your man. Romero said you cannot be driving that car all the time because it's gonna go out on you. I agree. But anyway, back to this Jesse Lee Peterson shit. Like, you know, some of the things he say, like some of the things I'm saying right now, some of that shit is right. But when he start talking about black people, like we aren't, how did he say it? Slavery doesn't affect us. So we can't complain about slavery today because it doesn't hold us down. And he's wrong. In fact, soon as he made that statement, he proved himself wrong. Because what he said that slavery doesn't affect us today because it happened way back when. He says what hurts the black community today is black women, right? And this is what he said. He said because black women have children, and then we push our beliefs on to our children. Our children are angry because the mothers was angry. So our children are angry. Then their children are angry because their children were angry. And it goes on. He says that it's a cycle that the black woman started pushing on to the children. And how I could prove him to where what he said proves him wrong in the beginning is slavery is the same way. Some of the things that I believed when I was younger, some of the things I feared when I was younger, comes from slavery. It comes from my grandparents, and it came from their grandparents. and it came from their grandparents. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of beliefs that we have still come from slavery, like the spanking, the whipping of our children. We believe that you whip the children to get them to do right. Well, the white man whipped the slaves in order to get them to do right, to put fear in them. We know that's where that comes from. And yet we still decide that we're going to whip our children. Let me tell you, Romero, it hurts my heart to say this shit right now because family members, right? I have family members who should not have had children. Okay? They're really rough with their children. And so I see what some of these men are saying about their mothers. I see it. If we actually open our eyes and listen to what these men are saying, how their mothers abused them. And then I watch and I see this young black girl who shouldn't have had no babies that young anyway. And now you're going to whip your fucking kid because you and the dad are no longer together. You angry at the dad and you whipping that boy. How do we know that she's whipping that boy based on the dad? Because she got other kids, right? You got the one kid who she love and adore because she still love and adore his father. You got the one son who she beats because the father broke her heart, right? You find out the father likes men. Man, I'm trying to tell you, boy. Woo! It's like living in a goddamn I don't know what you call it, like reality TV show. Living in a reality TV show when you find out when somebody in your family come and say, "Oh my God, I found out my man likes men." I was like, "What?" I found out my man likes men. I couldn't. She was like, she was broke. She said he broke my heart. I found out he liked men, and she broke out crying. I was like, he likes men. Your man likes men? Yeah. I'm like, but wait a minute. Shouldn't you have known that before you had children with him? You know what I'm saying? Like, shouldn't you have known this dude like taking it up his booty hole before? And I'm not against gay people. You know what I'm saying? People do what you want in your bedroom. I'm not against it. I'm just saying, like, can you be honest with me? Can you tell once I meet you and I tell you my name and you tell me your name, you know what I'm saying? And we start dancing and having fun together, going out to dinner and shit. Like before we lay down and do some shit, can you at least be honest and be, look, I'm gonna keep it 100. I like both males and females. Do something. Tell me something. Cause I've been to bash somebody in the head fucking around me like that. Be real. If I found out my husband like men, oh, y'all gonna know about it. Okay, it's gonna be on the 8 o'clock news, 8 a.m. news. It's gonna be on the 4 o'clock news and the 6 p.m. news and the midnight news. It's gonna be some information that's gonna be traveled all over, you know, the United States of America, and then it's gonna probably go international. They're gonna find out it's gonna be some crazy shit going on. But anyway, family is that's a whole nother story. We're gonna get back to the Coont, okay? The Coont Peterson. I couldn't believe he actually said that Tommy was a beta male, and his explanation was that when he put Tommy and Lunell on his show, Tommy agreed a lot with Lunell, and Tommy was like, "Yes, we agree. We agreed." Tommy was like, if you ask her what's her favorite team and she says the Giants, I guess, right? He said, if you ask Lunell what her favorite team was and she says the Jets, and then you ask me what my favorite team is and my favorite team is the Jets, he said, why would I attack her? He said, we agree. We're the same team. But he admitted that he thought it was going to be Tommy against Lunell. And I guess he even mentioned that he brought her on because she's ratchet. He brought her on because she's ratchet, and he thought that Tommy would be attacking her. And he didn't like the fact that they were actually able to have a conversation without attacking one another, without calling each other names. And I think he was hurt. He was hurt that they were able to have a conversation. Anyway, we can do this later tonight. I need to make some pizza dough for my family. Get on here. I'm never gonna get off unless I can stay on if y'all want to come into the hangout and y'all want to chat, or we could do that later. It's up to you all. I'm trying to get back in the groove of things because me sitting in that bed um, is not working out for me. Okay, I used to be able to be in my bed and just sit there and look at TV or look at the internet on my iPad or some shit and be okay. But I can't do that. I gotta stay busy because I find myself crying all the time. Okay, so yeah, let's do that later. What time you thinking tonight, Romero? It is Friday, right? Yeah, so let's hook up tonight, everybody, and we'll have a great chat. Jack, are you gonna be here tonight? Cause Romero and Jack and y'all my what I'm saying. I've been missing on y'all. What do you say? That there was the Wolfpack Mafia. Uh, he said they were terrorizing the school knife fights. He was good in martial arts, but you were using it wrong. Oh, we're using it for wrong. He said I whipped his ass plenty good. Oh man. Oh, you got something lined up? Okay, but we'll get together some other time. It's cool. What you got a date lined up, Jack Spade? Anyway, I do have to cook dinner. It's 5, 6, 7. I need 2 hours for the dough to rise at 7. Yeah, I'm making pieces tonight, I think. Okay, so I got to get on this piece of dough. It doesn't take long to make the dough, like it's really quick, but it takes a few hours for the dough to rise the way I want it to rise. Yeah, my pieces are better than Pizza Hut's pieces, baby. I'm not even lying. I was shocked. Okay, I was shocked. Anyway, I'm out. I'll see you all later.